Thanksgiving, and I just want to encourage Iowans to continue to keep the families of the victims and those that are recovering in Sutherland Springs, Texas, to keep them in their thoughts and prayers. Just again, another act of pure evil, and just really no words to describe what we continue to see taking place. So I would ask Iowans to keep the families in their thoughts and prayers. So this morning, Lieutenant Governor Gregg and I are glad to be joined by Education Director Wise, as well as Shelley, who is the 2017 Teacher of the Year. Iowa is so proud to have the most extensive TLC, teacher leadership and compensation system in the nation, with more than 25% of our teachers in roles such as educators say they can't imagine going back to a school life before TLC. They are routinely working together to analyze data, to fine-tune instructional strategies, and as well as coach and co-teach. In addition, I do have a daughter who became a teacher leader this school year, so it's been fun to watch her really participate in the TLC program, and I get to hear often from her how things are going and what her expectations are of the program. So this morning, there are two reports that we're presenting that will tell us where Iowa is making progress and where we need to improve. TLC is in the early stages. We phased it in over 3 years. The first year we had 39 school districts. That was in the 2014-15 school year, followed by 76 school districts in the 15-16 school year. And then this year we had 200 plus in the 2016 school year. 17 school year. The legislature overwhelmingly passed TLC because it recognized the importance of better supporting the most challenging work that teachers must do, given higher expectations for all students. We share that commitment because TLC creates the capacity to help drive other reforms such as early literacy and, of course, one of my favorites, STEM. So I'll speak to the first of the two reports presented today, which is based on the 2016-17 year-end reports from Iowa school districts. So overall, 75% of districts fully or mostly met their TLC goals. And if you break that down, 85% of districts fully or mostly met their goal to attract and retain teachers, and that was one of the #1 priorities. 84% fully or mostly met their collaboration and professional growth goals. 50% fully or mostly met their achievement goals based on a variety of assessments, including state and local tests. So it's encouraging, for example, that Iowa is making significant progress to improve K-3 reading skills. The share of students who met or surpassed the state benchmark on screening assessments increased 3 percentage points in the 2016-17 school year, and that's following a 4% gain in 15-16. Iowa's investment in the TLC program is a little over $157 million a year, and it's paying off. But of course, like anything else, there's more work to do, and our administration will continue to look for ways to ensure that the teacher leadership and compensation is even more effective. And Director Wise is going to speak about that shortly. So I just want to say thanks to the exceptional professionalism of Iowa educators, and I'm confident that TLC will help more students develop the knowledge and skills to graduate ready for college or career training, and that's certainly in keeping with the Future Ready Iowa goal of having 70% of working adults have either education or training beyond high school by the year 2025. So with that, I'd ask Lieutenant Governor to come to the podium.
Thank you, Governor Reynolds, and good morning. In addition to Iowa's year-end summary based on district reports, the American Institute for Research conducts an external evaluation of Iowa's teacher leadership system. Its October 2017 report is based on surveys, focus groups, and interviews with teachers, teacher leaders, school administrators, and district administrators last spring. Here are some highlights. Teacher satisfaction is high. And I got to say that is consistent with what the governor and I have seen anecdotally as we traveled the state. We get a lot of positive feedback from teachers and administrators when we visit schools and when we hear from them at roundtable meetings and things of that sort. Large majorities of teachers and administrators surveyed report TLC is effective in improving instruction. In fact, 87% of teachers and 93% of administrators agree about the effectiveness of TLC in improving instruction. It's interesting, too, that positive perceptions increase in many areas year over year. So including teacher leadership roles and professional development support for teachers, both of those areas gained in support and positive perceptions from 2016 to 2017. In other words, it takes some time to develop Iowa's teacher leader system in the most effective way possible and to build the trust that's essential to make the most of the opportunities to collaborate. Large majorities of teachers and administrators also reported that TLC had a positive impact on their professional work climate. Retention remains stable before and after TLC implementation, with districts on average retaining about 90% of their teachers, which is a very high number that speaks to teachers' dedication. At the same time, 92% of teachers said that they look forward to returning to their school next year. And of those teachers, 78% said that TLC impacted their desire to return. Finally, the external evaluation found that student achievement remained largely unchanged following TLC based only on the annual state assessment. That's a more limited measure than Iowa's year-end report, which districts use a variety of tests to measure achievement. So again, we have work to do, such as making sure that all schools understand the roles and expectations of their teacher leaders. Yet Iowa schools are now on the path, on the way to becoming globally competitive by recognizing great teaching that is the biggest influence on student learning inside the classroom. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Director Wise.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Gregg. The AIR evaluation and the department's year-end summary of local school districts' teacher leadership and compensation reports reinforce what I see in my weekly school visits. Iowa has transformed the teaching profession for the better. Teachers no longer shut the door to their classroom and engage with other teachers a few times a year for professional development of varying quality and limited connection to their actual jobs. They engage weekly in connected, high-quality professional learning, and they engage daily and collaborate daily with their colleagues. I've seen many examples of this approach in the first few months of the school year. For example, I was in Center Point, Urbana last week and participated in district-wide professional learning sessions in which teams of teachers, led by teacher leaders, gathered together, reviewed student achievement data, and planned specific interventions for students who are below their academic benchmarks. In Wapsie Valley a few weeks ago, I visited with the high school and middle school English teachers and an instructional coach who meet each week and also share all of their lessons and their assessments in a Google Documents file that they each contribute to. And in Rock Valley, I visited the classroom of a model teacher who was piloting a new technology application in his classroom, which he would then evaluate and share with other teachers. So while these are just a few examples of the positive impact of TLC, I also know both from my visits and annual reports that we still have work to do. So I've been meeting this fall with a team of educators from across Iowa to examine the use of instructional frameworks, which are also referred to as instructional rubrics, and to determine how we might expand the use of these tools across the state. While the idea may have multiple names, the focus is on creating a common instructional language and a vision for quality teaching across an entire school district. In my observations, schools that do this are best positioned to maximize the impact of teacher leaders. The department will also continue to rigorously evaluate TLC and share what we've learned from school districts that are seeing the greatest results. AIR is in the process of selecting 6 school districts to develop in-depth case studies on the decisions and strategies that have resulted in successful implementation and outcomes. We anticipate these case studies will be completed and released following the end of the school year and will be a helpful resource to all school districts as they continue to strengthen their local plans. In addition, The department will continue to host a monthly TLC implementation team, which includes representatives from each area education agency, local school districts, and the state's professional education associations. This group's purpose is to identify, coordinate, and provide learning opportunities for teachers across the state as they take on new leadership roles. And finally, the statewide Teacher Leadership Commission continues to meet and discuss ways in which Iowa can improve TLC implementation. Although we're only in our second year of full statewide implementation of TLC, we hope to see stronger, continued positive impact on student achievement moving forward. We will continue to work with Iowa educators to ensure that this happens. So it is now my pleasure to turn the podium over to Shelley Veru, Iowa's 2017 Teacher of the Year.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor Reynolds, Lieutenant Governor Gregg, and Director Weiss for inviting me to speak today about Iowa's Teacher Leadership Compensation Program. As the Iowa Teacher of the Year and a proud teacher leader from Lakewood Elementary in Norwalk, I can say without hesitation that TLC is changing the landscape of schools across the state of Iowa. TLC has provided thousands of teachers with the opportunity to grow their leadership skills while remaining in their classrooms, working to improve student learning and achievement. As I travel the state, I'm able to witness firsthand thousands of Iowa teachers who are committed to improving learning for students across the state of Iowa. I see educators working in professional learning communities to collaboratively analyze student data and student work with the intended outcome of improving student learning, as well as the instructional strategies they're using in their classrooms. Model and lead teachers are opening the doors of their classrooms in order for new and career teachers to have opportunities to observe and learn from the innovative practices they're trying with students. Mentor leaders are providing support and encouragement to our new teachers in those critical first years. These leaders are crucial in helping us retain quality teachers in classrooms. As an instructional coach in Norwalk, I've been able to grow my own leadership capacity tremendously since the inception of TLC. Being an instructional coach has given me the opportunity to build trusting relationships with the teachers in my building. These relationships have allowed me to encourage teachers to invite me into their classrooms to observe lessons, set goals, and provide feedback as they work to improve student learning. Along with this, I've had the opportunity to reflect on my own teaching practices and learn from the strategies and techniques I've seen as I visit classrooms each day. I can apply the lessons I've learned from my collaboration with teachers in order to improve my own instructional techniques. One example of this increased collaboration occurred when I was involved in intensive professional development with Dr. Emily Calhoun and other teacher leaders in my district. During this time, I had the opportunity to work with these teachers to develop reading lessons using an instructional technique called explicit strategy instruction. Being able to learn alongside with other teachers and watch them as they implemented the strategy benefited both my students and me. This collaboration and opportunity for new learning was possible because of TLC. Teacher leadership compensation has been the best initiative our state has provided teachers during the course of my teaching career. And we need to continue to encourage and motivate teachers to take on leadership opportunities within their schools. We need to continue to work collaboratively to use data as the driving force for our decisions, as well as reflect on our current practices in order to grow and improve as educators. As we continue to move forward with the TLC system, it is my hope that as educators, we'll continue to learn with and from one another as we work to improve students' educational experiences in Iowa. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. We'll open it up for questions on this topic.
Do you know, Director Weiss, has there been a change in FTEs as a result of this? How do FTEs in Iowa School District compare before this program started compared to now?
Yeah, so we could get you the exact data on the numbers of FTEs. I think it's up somewhat as some teachers have gone into full-time instructional coach roles and then they've been replaced by additional teachers. We know that more than 9,000 teachers who are in the classroom are in various levels of full-time and part-time leadership roles. Now, those are not new teachers. Again, those were teachers that were in the classroom.
question. Have you discussed how Chapter 20 changes are going to impact this program? Has there been any changes so far? Do you anticipate any changes as a result of the collective bargaining changes?
I don't. That's always been separate from teacher leadership.
Do I understand right? Student achievement has largely been unchanged.
Yes, when you look at the Iowa assessments and the impact of TLC on the Iowa assessments over the course of the 3 years of implementation with each cohort, student achievement has been largely unchanged to this point. If you look at district level reporting on different assessments they use, you'll see some gains, and also even on the Iowa assessments in some districts you see some gains. But that is true in aggregate across all 333
And
school
reading.
districts. And reading.
Reading has gone up.
Isn't the goal for student achievement to be elevated by this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we think we've put in place all of the building blocks to increase student achievement. So teachers are collaborating more, they have higher quality professional learning, all of those things that lead to increases in improvement start with improvement in instruction. And you ask teachers in almost every school in Iowa, they're seeing those improvements in instruction that we know over time will lead to increases in achievement.
I think the other thing too, just to see the collaboration, and you talk about making choices about looking at different instructional strategies based on data, and they're collaborating with that data. I see them meeting early in the morning, taking a day during the week, and really come together and talk about how they can improve the outcomes for students. And it's the foundation is there, I think, to really start to see the kind of growth that we're hoping we will. Well, what really was one of the best parts about this when we put this into place is it's about little over $157 million, and that rolled into the school formula so that it would be ongoing. So it became, as the school districts came into the system, the funding rolled into the school formula, so it's ongoing.
You tell them this conference at school here recently, where there's a very diverse population. How does that work within that diverse population, and is that a factor why you aren't seeing an increase? Because Iowa has many immigrant students, many low-income people, hundreds of languages being spoken. How does that factor into that whole picture?
Right. So we think that TLC presents a great opportunity for districts to meet their unique needs. So a good example of that is the West Des Moines Community School District. They have used TLC to create equity leader positions that are specifically looking at addressing challenges they have with achievement and opportunity gaps among their student populations. So we hope that as TLC continues to develop over time, districts really think critically every year about, are we maximizing every single role, and are we using this system to the best of its ability to address things like the achievement gaps that you mentioned.
It seemed there was a time Iowa was considered the best in the nation, and the U.S. was considered best in the world, which made us world class. Now I heard that we want to be on the path to being globally competitive. Is that something less than world class?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I mean, it's different ways to articulate the same vision. And I think TLC helps us get there for sure.
Okay, we'll open it up to other topics.
Governor, do you think that people who are agents of a foreign government should be employed by the state body?
Well, first of all, I think that that's something that probably, no. And I think it's something that the legislature needs to look at. It appears that it's possibly a loophole in the statute. And so I believe that this is something that the legislature should take a look at next year.
It should be forbidden.
I think we should close the loophole, yes. I think that, and I think the legislature should take that up next year. Well, because I don't think it was taken into account when that statute was put into place and things have changed. And so I think it makes sense if you're working for the state or a public official that it would be a conflict of interest to serve in that capacity. So I think that makes sense for them to take a look at that.
So are you okay with Tim Still needs to be members of your administration of their agents in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Well, first,
Maybe talk with them about this since the story came out that they're working against the 9/11 victims.
Well, first of all, the Smiths don't serve at the pleasure of the governor. They serve a set term, and that's determined by statute. They were appointed by Governor Branstad and confirmed by the Iowa Senate. So what my staff has done is they have contacted the Ethics Board and have asked them to look into this matter. Legally, we don't know if they've done anything wrong, and that's why we've asked a third party to review that and report back to us if they have or have not, and then we'll move forward from that. But again, they don't serve at the pleasure of the governor. This is a unique. They serve on two unique boards. That it's a set term, and but we can have the legislature, if there is a loophole, weigh in next year and address public service state employees are acting in that capacity, serving as a foreign agent. No, I was not.
And then just to make sure I'm clear here, you don't believe at this moment that there should be repercussions for not disclosing that information, or?
No, what I said is I've asked a third party, the Ethics Board, to review the matter. It's a third and an outside party to get what my staff has, and then to report back to us what their findings are, and we'll move forward with that after they report back to us what they found. In the meantime, what I've said needs to happen is we need to have the legislature take a look at, changing the statute to make it clear that you can't be a foreign, to really address the foreign agent loophole. That's what I'm saying. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it.
Governor, I also want to ask you about the recent news with AmeriHealth.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Medicaid program is working as it should, given that just less than 2 years after it was privatized, we have one of these companies getting out of our system?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, our number one priority is to make sure that the members receive continuity of care and that they continue to receive quality care and very, very minimal disruption. And I want to just commend Director Foxhoven. They have a transition plan in place. They're monitoring it very closely, and they're watching that. I want to thank Caritas for being a part of the managed care initiative for a little over 18 months or over a year, however long that they've been in the system. But they had to make a business decision, and we need to make sure that we're not only, holding the outcomes for these vulnerable Iowans, we're holding the managed care providers accountable, but we're also balancing that with being accountable to the taxpayers of Iowa. So we want to make sure that there's very little disruption in service, that we continue to provide quality care, while also making sure that this program is sustainable for the long haul. Other states have had, managed care providers step out. Minnesota has, Kentucky has. So it's not necessarily a reflection on the program. Jerry's already put an RFP. He's got an RFP ready to go. So we're going to look to bring in another company. And so he's already moving forward in that, with that. But I think first and foremost is they have a transition plan in place. They're monitoring it very, very carefully, and we're going to do everything we can to continue to provide quality service to vulnerable Iowans.
The DHS also reported that there's going to be an additional $60 million. About $20 million of that would be specific through the capitation rates, but then there would be some cost savings through DHS.
Right.
$60 million at the end of the day. Is that?
So it's actually, excuse me, were you done with your question?
Well, I'm just curious. A lot of the public have been waiting to see what the end result would be in terms of the additional cost of the current fiscal year. Do you think that it's the right amount of money? Do you think that we're paying more than we expected, or do you feel like the state's getting a good deal?
Well, because of the cost containment measures that the legislature passed last year, the cost is actually $19.7 million. So we're able to, with the cost containment, pare that down. When you look at the overall increase, with the capitated rates that were put in place, it's about 3.3%. When you compare that to other healthcare costs that we're seeing, Medica was a 57% increase. Other state plans, it's been 5 and 6. So the fact that we were able to sign contracts at 3.3%, I think they've done a phenomenal job. That's part of making sure that we keep the collaboration in place with the providers that are participating in the managed care, but also balancing our responsibility to make sure that it's sustainable in the long run, and we're taking taxpayers into account also. So I think, if you look at the previous fee-for-service over the last 10 years, the average increase in costs was about 10.7% annually. And so when you contrast what we had with fee-for-service, and I think that's very indicative of why that was not sustainable and was not a system that we could continue to operate within, I think Jerry's done a phenomenal job in his team of really negotiating the contracts with the two providers. We'll go out with an RFP, and we're going to continue to look for ways that we can make the system more efficient and effective so that we can continue to provide quality services for Iowans. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Have the Schmitz donated directly to you? And do you intend to count your donations? I know they had a fundraiser.
Yeah, I have received $100 from the Smiths. That's it. And I am going to wait again. We'll see what the ethics board reports back to our office, and then Kay will make decisions going forward for that. I think it's only fair to wait and see what the third party's response is to this, to talk to the legislature, make the appropriate changes that need to be made next year so that we can, eliminate this happening moving forward, and then we'll make those decisions after that. Thank you.